A court in Bangladesh today sentenced former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death for her role in the killing of 1,400 people during last year's anti-government uprising. Hasina, who lives in exile in India, was tried in absentia. The guilty verdict was delivered at the end of a months-long trial, with the lead prosecutor saying the former Prime Minister had soaked her feet with the blood of young students.
This was the dramatic moment a special tribunal in Bangladesh delivered its verdict.
For all these 3 counts, we have decided to inflict her with only one sentence, that is sentence of death.
Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, convicted in absentia of committing crimes against humanity. Prosecutors held her responsible for a brutal crackdown against a student-led uprising in 2024.
If the families of the 1,400 martyrs who shed their blood and gave their lives are a little bit relieved, that's the only takeaway of this prosecution. We successfully completed a judicial matter in favour of the people. We freed this nation from a culture of impunity. This is our success.
It was an emotional day for the families of those killed.
The verdict has pacified us a bit, but we will be fully content when we see the hangman's rope around her neck. We will be able to erase the smudge from our history.
Hasina maintains her innocence and says the verdicts were biased and politically motivated. In their distasteful call for the death penalty, they reveal the brazen and murderous intent of extremist figures within the interim government to remove Bangladesh's last elected Prime Minister. These were some of the reactions on the streets of Dhaka.
It's not just a culmination of what she did during July or August, but this is also a culmination of what she did in the last 15 years throughout her authoritarian dictatorship. So I cannot feel anything but be elated.
It sends a message to all the preceding and subsequent regimes that no killer, no fascist, no murderers shall be allowed to rule in Bangladesh.
As an ordinary man, I can say that I am dissatisfied with this verdict. I think these are all false cases and allegations against her.
Sheikh Hasina is currently in exile in India. It's unclear how the sentence will be carried out. New Delhi says it's, quote, taken note of Monday's verdict. The UN has described it as an important moment for victims, but that it regrets the death penalty handed to her.
Well, for more, I'm joined now by Taqbir Huda, a Clarendon scholar at the University of Oxford, a human rights lawyer and an expert on South Asia's legal and political challenges. It's good to have you with us. Do you believe that the Hasina death sentence is legally justified, or do you think it's politically motivated?
Hi, thank you. I think it is both. There's elements of both technical legality, but also political, context in which it was handed out. So, firstly, on the technical legality, so according to Bangladeshi national law, this is, death penalty is a prescribed sentence that can be awarded for crimes against humanity. And the definition of the crimes against humanity in Bangladesh's domestic law, under which Sheikh Hasina was convicted, is also largely in line with the International Criminal Court's Rome Statute. And of course, we know from the reports from the UN suggesting that around 1,400 people died and around 20,000 were injured. So this is by no means a fabricated case. There is overwhelming evidence. The problem really is the trial through which this sentence was handed out and the tribunal which handed it out. So the trial was, of course, mired with a lot of fair trial concerns, and the International Crimes Tribunal which handed it out has always, since its very existence, since the very start of its existence, been an extremely controversial tribunal. Now, there's a great degree of irony in the way that Sheikh Hasina has criticized these tribunals, because she's the one who set it up initially to eradicate her political opposition. Some of them she even executed. So she's now leveling the same criticisms that were leveled against her when she used the tribunals for the same purpose. So there is a kind of circularity, if you will, in that. So in a nutshell, it's technically legal under Bangladeshi law, but it obviously violates international safeguards on fair trial and progressive abolition of the death penalty. And there's no denying that it was handed out in an extremely politically charged setting.
I mean, would you say then that justice has been served in Bangladesh in this case? I mean, we have to repeat, Hasina has defied a court order to return to her home country, and she was tried in absentia.
I mean, it really depends on how you want to define justice. For some people, if justice simply means a symbolic and expressive death penalty, which will never be executed because India will never be sending Sheikh Hasina back to a country where she's likely to face execution, then, you could say, yeah, justice has been served because the death penalty has been awarded, which is the highest penalty under the law. But if you mean justice to suggest that Sheikh Hasina actually faces accountability and is actually brought before a physical court of law, then this sentence, this verdict, does not take us anywhere near that. It actually grants Sheikh Hasina a very strong ground to claim political asylum, not only in India, but in Europe, if she ever makes her steps foot there, because then she would be protected by Article 2 of the European Convention on Human Rights. So in that sense, one could say this verdict has actually been counterproductive if the real intent was to make sure that Sheikh Hasina actually faces accountability before a court of law.
Okay, Taqbir
rather
Huda,
than gains ground for asylum.
Mr. Huda, we appreciate your time and your analysis of the story tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And earlier I spoke to Zyma Islam, a senior reporter at the Daily Star in Dhaka, and I asked her what Hasina's swift reaction to the verdict might reveal about her strategy.
I don't think it was politically motivated in the sense that she is saying, because the kind of evidence that was presented at court was very irrefutable. Sheikh Hasina is saying that the evidence has not been examined by a third party. She's also saying that the evidence, which is essentially, these are call recordings, phone recordings of conversations that she has had with people in the party, people with decision-making powers in the party. And she's saying that the voice conversations had been taken out of context and presented wrongly. The Daily Star has examined at least one of these audio recordings for a story that we had done. It was examined by a third party. We had matched the voice of Sheikh Hasina with that of the audio recording, and we found it to be a match, of course. And we found that Sheikh Hasina, in the particular audio recording, which was presented as evidence at court, had ordered her law enforcers to shoot at people. And so I do not think that what she's saying can be taken at face value.
Now, the sentence is pretty harsh. You don't hear that every day, that a former head of state is being sentenced to death. Is this verdict unprecedented in Bangladesh history?
A verdict of, well, sentencing the Prime Minister to death, this is definitely a first. This is the first time we've had that. But this particular court deals with crimes against humanity, and this court does have a history of sentencing people to death. They have a history of even carrying out those sentences. However, what makes this different is, for the first time, the crimes that she has been sentenced for has happened in an independent country. So the last time that this court had presided over such matters, presided over cases regarding crimes against humanity, this was particularly about the independence of the war of independence that Bangladesh had in 1971. So this is unprecedented in the sense that, yes, we are now dealing with crimes that has happened after 1971.
Now, there is some fear of retaliation. How large is Hasina's base of support now in Bangladesh?
Hasina still retains a certain level of support. I think that much we all have to agree. However, we have not yet received any messaging from Hasina or the Awami League saying that they will be going to they will be organizing on the streets, that they will be organizing in localities. And I do not particularly envision any such violence taking place following the verdict. However, I think it remains to be seen because, they could change their minds in a minute.
Now, what happens next for the former Prime Minister?
She has to come and surrender if she wants to appeal the judgment. That is a given. Otherwise, there is no way that she can appeal this judgment. However, she has made it clear in a statement that she does not plan on appealing this judgment given by the court, that she does not want to engage with the legal processes happening here. She would be ultimately staying in exile in India if India continues giving her asylum, and Bangladesh will be fighting that. Bangladesh will be trying to bring her back. That will be difficult because this is ultimately a capital punishment here means sentencing to death. And a lot of countries will not be, they do not support the death penalty, although this is the law here. And so Bangladesh will face a lot of challenges in bringing her back. That we are envisioning.
Thank you very much there, Zyma Islam.